groups of 20 to 70 Magdalenians began migrating to glaciated regions where they merged and allied with mountain tribes. Now, they had been enslaved and shown their poor mutilated hands, and the Silurians left around 20,000 years ago, and around 18,000 years, about 2,000 years later, they're migrating to the glaciated regions and merging and allying with mountain tribes. Now, a statue from the Franco-Cantabrian region was found in a Siberian camp and shows a man with a hooded, closely fitting body garment and trousers of fur. A painting that dates from 17,000 years ago depicts a hunter in a fur coat, cut high at the back of the neck and open at the front to reveal a high neck garment, and he wore no foot covering. Now, melting glaciers scraped the earth around 16,000 years ago, melting ponds, lakes, streams, and oceans. And by that time, the total population of France and Spain had grown to about 80,000 people. Now, running water destroyed the tundra, and big game animals decreased in number. And at any rate, because of the melting water, fish and sea life became abundant, and Magdalenians shifted from hunting to fishing. Now, Alexander Marshak examined an engraved section of reindeer antler, and he said the antler contained amazing detailed images of a bull seal, a smaller female seal, 2 snakes, a flower, a salmon, and 3 lines that were previously assumed to be harpoons. Now, his examination revealed that the 3 lines were stems with leaves that ran in the wrong direction for harpoons. He saw the engraving as a clear statement, which essentially said, the snakes, seals, and salmon are mating, and flowers are in fresh bloom. Now, Magdalenians, these are some of the things that they carved. I think these are all carved from ivory and reindeer antler. But that's magnificent carving. These are statues. These were found in caves. And they say Magdalenians made fish hooks, harpoons, fishing nets, traps, canoes, paddles, blubber lamps, gravers, awls, drills, etc. Carving, engraving, painting, and sculpturing, most of them, with artistic and fanciful designs and patterns. Magdalenians developed almost every artistic process known today: drawing, clay modeling in relief and in the round, stenciling, engraving, and painting. Now, 4 Magdalenian rock shelters in France have yielded about 80% of all portable art of the period. They carved, engraved, painted, etc. They perfected working with bone, antler, and ivory. Personal ornamentation reached new heights during the Magdalenian period. They manufactured pendants, necklaces, bracelets, leg bands, belts, headgears of ivory, bone, antler, shell, amber, and feathers. Anthropologist Jacquetta Hawkes wrote about them and said, from that time to this, there have been great numbers of primitive people living throughout the world, yet none has had a representational art to approach theirs. Now, a modern poet stated that the Magdalenian cave artists expressed a higher consciousness, seeking unity with all that is and has been. That's the next section. Okay. So, now sea levels started dropping around 15,000 years ago. The climate became relatively dry, and it grew progressively colder. Now, around 14,000 years ago, massively muscled, heavy-browed Neanderthal warriors started coming from the Atlas Mountain, and they invaded Spain and northern Africa. Now, archaeological findings show that they were coming, and that there was a coming and going of nomadic armies, and they formed many small, briefly occupied campsites in the Maghreb region around the Atlas Mountains. Now, anthropologists call the warriors Iranians, and they describe them as like the people of Atlantis or Canary Islands, meaning they were kind of Cro-Magnon Neanderthals. Now, the remains of 183 Iranians were found in a cemetery near Algeria, and many of the graves contained red ochre, and one was covered with horns of wild cattle. Now, Iranians enslaved the females of Africa. They were Cro-Magnons, and Cro-Magnonate sapiens, females of Africa. And they formed two mating cultures that spanned the entire coastline of North Africa. Now, a flint industry was established along the coast of eastern Spain, and fine pressure flaking techniques produced delicate leaf-shaped flints and Clovis points that had greater penetrative potential. Clovis points, like those manufactured in caves of Spain, spread throughout northern Africa, the Mediterranean, Europe, and they were found by the thousands at American Indian sites. Now, encyclopedia passages state a large population of migrating hunting tribes invaded or arrived in Western Europe and Africa from Southeast Asia at the close of the fourth glaciation. After their arrival, everything looks very impoverished, and very archaic techniques of stoneworking appeared in the mountainous territories of northwest Spain. It's during the Upper Paleolithic, which may become correlated with the last phases of the fourth glaciation, Spain became a virtual paradise for the hunting peoples who arrived in Western Europe from the south and east. So people from Africa and from the mountain tribes are invading. Now, these incoming warriors had their pictures painted on outdoor surfaces of rock shelters along the eastern coast of Spain. Now, many historians, these three pictures we're coming to, many historians think they were executed by natives from Africa. Some say they resemble paintings from Rhodesia and southern Algeria. Now, this rock painting shows men with bow and arrows. There is one that has them with feathered headdresses, just like the American, and bow and arrows, just like the American Indians. And another painting from eastern Spain, dated at approximately 14,000 years ago, shows nude reindeer hunters with bows and arrows. That's this one right here, with the women in their skirts. Now, that's the same type of attire that was worn in Africa. Now, historians state that the Spanish art places an emphasis on man that was previously unseen. This is a Homo sapiens, or Neanderthal, and male dominance trait. The social status of the archer is implied in the painting in Spain. Now, these paintings show plenty of movement, especially the hunters. See, they are all over. But the paintings are poorly executed. These paintings over here cannot compare to these paintings. These paintings were made by slaves who were forced to make them. These paintings were painted by people who were expressing themselves, expressing their creativity. Now, notice these paintings is showing three women being taken into slavery. They have their hands tied up like this, and these are black women. Here, this is from Africa. It seems to be two groups, two males here and two here, fighting over this female, because that was like, females were like, the slaves were like currency. That was like money. Here's some slaves. Except when they were making things, they were the labor force. Now, slaves of 14,000 years ago painted under duress. That's what I was saying there with that artwork. This person says, the artists by that time were no longer interested in natural proportions or details. And during this period, right after the Iranians and these mountain tribes invaded, people in the Nile Valley made extensive use of vegetable food during this period. Those in southern Egypt ate tubers of walnut grass as a major element in their diet. Now Casey's readings infer that Magdalenian scientists were pressured to create a genetic breeding program for Aryan